Band Nation. Welcome to our first interview in a series of interviews that we are calling Careers in Music. My name is Alejandro Story, and I am the head band director of Rosemont Middle School in Fort Worth, Texas. With me are two of our students, Angel Delgado, trumpet player at Rosemont. Say hi, Angel.
Hello.
and Sean Villatoro, tuba player at Rosemont Middle School. Say hi, Sean.
Hi.
Our assistant band director, Mr. Trevino. Say hi, Mr. Trevino.
Hey guys, what's up?
And of course, our guest celebrity of the day, Mr. Nathan Madsen. Say hi, Mr. Madsen.
Hey guys, how's it going?
As we all know, a couple of weeks ago, we were hit with the COVID-19 virus in America, and we were told that our spring break was going to be extended. And then, of course, that was extended into now what we're calling distance learning. And just like all the teachers in Fort Worth ISD, the band directors kind of sprang into action to try to figure out how we were going to continue to teach music education via a computer. So myself and our pyramid directors in the South Hills High School Pyramid came up with a lot of ideas, but in this series, it was actually one of them. We will be airing interviews with different people throughout the area that have a career in music, and just like Mr. Madsen, not necessarily in the area. The purpose of these interviews is to engage our students in our pyramid throughout the Fort Worth ISD and exploring careers in music during our distance learning. So I thought, who better to kick this off with us than an old friend from high school, Nathan Madsen. Nathan and I were in the high school band together. We were both saxophone players. I wanted to be just like him. He was actually 2 years ahead of me, and actually all of us wanted to be just like Nathan. Nathan was my section leader. He was also a drum major. Were you a drum major 2 years or 1 year?
Just 1 year.
1 year, yeah. It was your senior year, right?
Yep.
Yeah. He was one of the funniest people in the band, and we just, like I said, we all worshipped him. He's a fantastic saxophone player at the time. Nathan now is a composer and sound designer with 15 years of experience in pro audio production. He worked on video games, films, commercials, trailers, stage productions, and chorale works. His credits number over 860, and he's been lucky enough to be involved with brands such as Dragon Ball Z, Afro Samurai, Dean Martin, Ninjatown, the Mortal Instruments City of Bones, Lego, Monopoly, Clue, and MechWarrior. He's got 2 kids, 1 wife, 1 dog, and a severe addiction to chocolate. Welcome, Nathan. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for having me, Alejandro. It's good to be here.
I was going through this, and before we start with the video and everything, I was kind of looking at this, and I was like, okay, so I got to know, how are you connected with Lego and Monopoly and Mortal Instruments City of Bones and all of that? So could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's a great question. So lots of big brands. Have been very lucky. Several of them have interesting stories. For example, Lego was my second in-house job. So I worked at a company called NetDevil in Louisville, Colorado. Louisville is a suburb of Denver, so Denver, Colorado. And one of the games they were working on was Lego Universe. If you imagine a sandbox game like The Sims, where you can just build anything you want, that's what it was, combined with quests and things you could do, collectibles. So it's kind of like the Grand Theft Auto meets Sims in the world of Lego without the violence and stuff like that. So that's what Lego was, and that's how I got a chance to work with Lego. Let's see, the Mortal Instruments, Mortal Bones, Mortal Instruments City of Bones. Totally butcher that. That was just one of my producer friends that worked at NetDevil. You know, since NetDevil crashed and burned and dissolved, then all those people went to different companies, and I started my own company. And so then from there, he was working with the client and needed a composer, sound designer to work on an iOS version of that game. And so I got involved with that. Ninjatown was a very interesting one. I got that game actually as a gag gift one Christmas on Nintendo DS, and I decided to play it and fell in love with that little game. It's a cute little top over RTS or real-time strategy type of game. And I actually just emailed the CEO and said, hey, look, I played your game, fell in love with it. I'd love to work with you if you ever need a composer or sound designer, let me know. And I got lucky enough. He's like, hey, actually, we do need someone. I like your stuff. And I worked on the Ninjatown Climber game where it was on iOS. So a lot of those projects have just been lucky or reaching out to people, making connections. In some cases, for example, in Monopoly and Dean Martin, are properties that work with my current employer, SciPlay. And we make slot games and virtual casino games. And so Hasbro has a relationship with SciPlay, and so I get the chance to work on Game of Life and Dean Martin, Monopoly, Clue, those type of things. So it's just a very organic process where you meet more people, make more connections. Sometimes it's through employment, sometimes it's just through freelancing.
Awesome. So Nathan has created an awesome video for us that we can actually watch. We're going to stop it in between and kind of ask some questions. Our students, Sean and Angel, have come up with a list of questions from Mr. Madsen, and they're going to ask those in between some videos. So if there's no other questions, or Mr. Madsen, do you want to say anything else before we get started?
I don't think so. I mean, I think we can just jump into the video. If you guys have questions, of course, we can address that. And the reason why I made the video is because when you try and stream video and audio material or media to other people, it can be pretty bad sometimes. So instead of streaming it from my computer, I just made something you guys can hopefully experience and watch that way. So.
You know more about that stuff than I do, so we just now started using Zoom. All right, give me 1 second. I'm going to get this up here. Can y'all see that screen? Awesome. And let's get started.
Hey guys, I'm Nate Madsen. I'm a composer, sound designer, and I work mostly in video games. I've worked in anime, I worked in stage productions and choral productions. And Alejandro Story and I went to high school together. We played saxophone together in the marching band and wind symphony and jazz bands. And Al and I have been friends for a very long time. He asked me to make a video about my studio and what I do. So really quickly, I'm going to show you the studio space, and then I will show you a little bit about what I do and how I do it. So let's jump right in. I'm going to start at the back of the studio. You notice I have 2 bookshelves on either side of the door, and on either side of the bookshelves I have foam all along the wall. I have foam above the door on either side. Now what the foam does is it prevents the audio from just bouncing back and coming right back at me. In the studio, you never want flat spaces along all your walls. You go to any studio, whether it's designed by the actual walls themselves or stuff that's put on the walls, they're going to have stuff that's going to make the sound not bounce directly back at them. Either the sound's going to be bounced around like the bookshelves are doing, or sort of like what the foam's doing, or it's going to be absorbed like these panels are doing. I got 6 rectangular panels along either side here, because this is only a 13-foot 9-inch by 10-foot wall space. Behind both speakers, I have triangular bass traps. Those absorb a lot of the bass frequencies. One on this side too. I've got my speakers on speaker stands with foam on the bottom to help absorb some of those sounds as well, those frequencies or vibrations. This is my electric keyboard. This is my baby grand piano. With COVID-19, I actually have my work set up here as well, so it's a lot more cluttered than it normally would be. And then down here, I've got my Mac Pro, which is running Pro Tools, Logic Pro X, Reaper, Reason. I'm going to show you guys a session I did with Dragon Ball Z here in just a second. And then over here I have a work computer I'm using for another project I can't talk too much about. I have a condenser mic right here I use for voiceover or singing. I have a ribbon mic which can also be used for singing. I have a pop filter. And this is just a shield that tries to capture the sound and not let it be reflected off of the wall. It's just going to die in this foam. And this is a ribbon mic which is great for the saxophones. 2 speakers. This keyboard goes into the audio interface right down there. These 2 microphones go into this preamp right here. Make sure that's in frame. Controls my speakers over here. So this is my space. This is where I work. And my job is to make the music and sound effects and either produce or help direct voice actors. I'm not a voice actor myself, although I can do sounds like I can do that type of stuff. But I don't consider myself someone who can do a character and deliver appropriate acting across a story arc. I'm just not that. I'm not an actor. So let's jump into the programs and show you a little bit about what I do in the actual software.
All right, so this is a perfect time because apparently my lawn guy decided to come right now and blow right next to us. This is a perfect time for us to jump right in. Gentlemen, if you have any questions, so I can mute myself so we don't have to hear that blower for very long.
How much do you practice?
All right, so practicing. I saw this question and kind of chagrined because on my saxophone, I don't practice as much as I used to, mainly because of time. I talked, and Alejandro talked a little bit about, I have two small kids, ages 6 and 4, so they require a lot of time. And then I mentioned in the video when I was showing the studio that I'm doing a lot of freelancing. I'm doing a lot of working for my employer. So as far as practicing my horn, I don't practice much at all in these days, not as much as I would like to. But if you want to talk about, creating music and creating sound design, how much do I practice that by doing that? I'm doing it every single day for hours. I will typically work a regular 9 to 5 with side play, and then I will do kid stuff, dinner stuff, bath time, bedtime with stories, books with the kiddos until about 9, and then I will work from 9 to about 11 to 11:30, sometimes midnight at night, about 5 nights a week. I try and do one night a week where I don't work at all, and I try and do one weekend day where I don't work at all. But other than that, I'm working a little bit on Sunday here and there. I'm working a little bit on Saturday. I'm trying to just sprinkle it out. But it's my goal. I'm doing a lot of freelancing for a lot of reasons. One, I enjoy it. It promotes my career. I'm also trying to get out of debt right now. And so that's a major thing I'm trying to do. Right before last summer, I went to the Inside Outside retreat. Alejandro, you should tell your band students about this. Inside Outside Saxophone Retreat, it is phenomenal. It takes place at Victor Wooten's Center for Nature and Music out in Nashville, Tennessee. And before that, I had about 4 months to know I was going to go to the camp. Then we take about 55 students, ages about 15 or 17 all the way up to 72, 90, whatever. And so before that, for about 4 months, I was practicing about a couple hours every day on my horn, just trying to get unrusty and get back in the groove of it. So I don't get to practice as much as I'd like, but I definitely would like to practice more. Good question.
Were you in band, orchestra, or choir in high school and middle school?
I was not in orchestra because I didn't play a orchestral instrument, saxophone, except for like Ravel's Bolero or stuff like that, is just not used very often in the orchestra. So I was in band. I was in a marching band, wind symphony, jazz band. I was in choir. I was in choir with my church, but not with my school. And then I also played piano. And so I did that in middle school and in high school, and I even did that in undergrad, where I was in choir and in band. Yep.
Can you sing some for us? Just kidding.
La.
I have a question, if I may.
Yeah.
For someone starting out and pursuing a musical career like yours, what are some things you kind of recommend for them to start off with in building their studio? And how long did it take you to build your studio up to where you like it right now?
That's a wonderful question. So the studio I have right now has taken me literally 15 years to get to this point. And the acoustic stuff that you see in these walls is a very recent addition. I've been in this house for about a year. And so I got these maybe about 8 months ago. Prior to that, I was using the foam. The foam is not as effective, but it's much cheaper. So everything in my studio was piecemeal. I did things here and there. My Mac Pro computer is 10 years old. And my audio interface is, I think, about 10 years old as well. This keyboard I've had for about 13 years. So everything has been like, as I can save up some money and buy it. I'm a firm believer that I mentioned earlier trying to get out of debt. You do not have to go into a whole bunch of debt to build up what you need to do this job. Hans Zimmer did a masterclass on the masterclass website where he talks about scores these days can be developed with a laptop and a mouse. Like you have some good instruments, virtual instruments on your laptop, and you have some creativity, you can make a great film score with just that. So my advice is to just build things up as you can. The most important thing that you need in my line of work, the core of it's going to be your computer. So try and get the best computer you can get. And then from there, you might be working with headphones for a while. And then as you get some more money, get some speakers. By the way, these speakers I've had for 20 years. My dad gave these speakers to me. They're not even professional grade. They're just JBL book series speakers my dad got me when I was a sophomore in college. But because I've listened to them for so long, I know the speakers sound really well, to where I know how to change what I'm working on to make it sound good on other people's setups. I will eventually get more professional pro series speakers, but these are doing the job. So my advice would be just get a really good computer, get some good headphones, and then just start experimenting with it, making some sounds and making some songs, and let yourself just grow, just like you did on your instruments. You mentioned trumpet, you mentioned being a tuba player. You didn't pick up the tuba in 6th grade and go, I'm gonna be a pro, here we go, bomb, and just like nail the tuba. When I started on saxophone, it sounded like a cow that was slowly dying for a while, and it's gotten better and better and better.
My saxophone playing sounds like that now.
So my advice is just, we tend to be impatient with things, but I would say with this, just build up your people you're talking to. The students like Sean, Angel, you guys are in a really cool opportunity right now because you have classmates, I guarantee you, that are trying to learn how to animate with software, or you have classmates who are trying to learn how to program a video game with all kinds of platforms that help you make video games. You can reach out to them right now if you're curious and say, hey, I will help you make some sound effects for this game, or I'll help you make some music for this game. And both of y'all can learn at the same time. So I would just start doing it now and just getting exposed to it. I'm being kind of long-winded, but really, really quick. In college, the way I got into this was I had a professor who was leaving. He was going to a different university, and he had an unopened, unregistered copy of a program that does all this. And he's like, hey, do you want this, Nate? I was like, yeah. And I took it home, and that summer I just experimented with it and made all kinds of music. Some of it was good, some of it was crap. But I was just doing it over and over and over again, to where I realized if I had free time and I wasn't playing saxophone, I wasn't playing basketball, I was writing music. And it became this passion of mine. It wasn't something I set out to do. It's just something that kind of happened. So those hours spent just learning and playing and having fun with it was teaching me. And so I would just strive to tell all the students that might have a curiosity about this, just experiment with it for a while. You're not going to lose anything by doing that. So, and then build up your studio slowly as you can. Because what you'll do is the more you get into it and the more you learn, the more you understand, well, here's what I need. Here's what I don't need to do this job. Because I can see emails every single day from vendors saying, hey, spend your cash on this. And sometimes it's tempting, and sometimes I'm like, I don't need that. I can do the job just as well without that. So it's just something that you learn over time. I hope that answers the question, but that's a great question.
Yes, thank you.
Great question and great answer.
Thanks.
How much has the coronavirus affected your job?
Well, I'm very lucky. Games in particular, they, not trying to sound insensitive to anyone else who's struggling, games tend to do well in these type of situations. Because if you think about it, people are like, hey, I can't go out, can't go see a movie right now. I can't go do X, Y, and Z like I normally do. I can't go see my friends and hang out, but I can play a game at home. And the other thing is, anyone who is struggling financially, you can buy a game for $50 and play it for hours and hours and hours, if not months. I mean, I shudder to tell you guys how many hours I've played Rocket League. I love that game, and that's a $15 game, and I've probably spent, well, I don't know how much, but I mean, I've been playing it since it came out in 2016. So I've played it for 4 years, and that's $15 invested. So we are very fortunate right now. My company SciPlay has let me work from home, and then my freelancing is still going well. So we're lucky. It definitely has, like in the video I showed you, that's my work computer right there on top of my baby grand. And so it has impacted us, and my kids are home and everything like that. But my job, fortunately, has not been that impacted yet. Don't know how it's going to happen in the future, of course, but yeah.
Nathan said his favorite video games. Let's go around and everybody say what they're playing right now.
Yes.
Sean, what are you playing?
Apex.
Mr. Trevino?
I'm currently playing Neo 2.
And Angel?
Call of Duty Modern Warfare.
Mr. Trevino actually gave me God of War, so I just started that yesterday from the very beginning on a PS3, which I had to dig out of the garage. So
You're talking about like the first God of Wars.
Yeah, I didn't want to jump in. I didn't want to jump in like midway. I'm not that I like starting a series from the beginning. So luckily I've been waiting for a long time to do it. So I'm excited. So it's so far the first little hour that I played, I really liked it. So
that's a great game. I used to joke around that Kratos just needs a hug. That guy is just angry.
All right, let's get back to the video. Okay, so here's the next part of the video.
All righty.
All right, so this is a program called Logic Pro X. It's my main DAW or digital audio workstation I'm using. I've been using it since 2006. And like I said before about just layer upon layer, that's what they have done here. So if I back up here, zoom out, you'll see I have several lines of VO or voiceover, several lines of sound design, and then I'll have music. So if I just play only the music, you have that. If I play just the VO, the voiceover,
you have no chance against me.
Stuff like that. And then if I play just the sound design from the show, you have that, okay? Now, one of my jobs is to take a trailer and see if there's any ways I can enhance certain sounds. And this is a perfect spot, because you do have a sound from the show that was captured when he smashes into the wall, into that stone. And it sounds fine by itself, but if you add in the music, which is pretty intense, I didn't feel like it had enough weight to it. And so part of my job was to go through and right here make a bit more defined sound. So if we put that with the sound design from the show, add back in the music. How about we unmute all of it and play all of it?
You have no chance against me.
So it has a little more weight to it. It tells a story a little bit more. It has more impact. There's another spot. The end of the trailer does what we call in the industry the end tag. It's where this shows the logo. And although there was some sound design from the show, there wasn't a ton. Actually, let me do it reversed. I'm going to show you just this spot first. You have some sound design from the show, but you don't have anything specific for that logo, which is a really cool logo. So then I went through and I created this. play it one more time. And then we put it together. Now, I didn't write the music for this trailer. I didn't produce any of the voiceover. I just edited for this trailer. And then I add sound design. And then I mix it all together. I'll show you one more thing. All these yellow lines going up and down, that's me turning things up or down, panning things left or right, trying to make decisions and choices to help give this the most impact and give it as much personality as I can, to help give it as much story as I can. So that's part of my job, is to do sound design and mixing. I'll show you one more thing. I have a whole bunch of tools I use for getting it to a certain volume level, and so I'll play you just a little bit of that over here with all these various plugins. And let me find a spot. Go from the very end. You'll see all this move.
This I won't fail!
All right. Okay, so I'll be right back with some music for you. 1 second.
So I loved that part. I think the thing that I liked the best about it was that kind of brings a kind of a new kind of, because that's something I did, like, I had never seen that. I knew it happened, and I knew it was something that we, that you do when you are a sound engineer and you're doing things like that. But it was just kind of for me, that was kind of a new thing for me to actually be able to see it like happen. To me, it made it feel like, like it brings a new whole idea on having good ears and listening, and the being a musician. So I thought that was really cool.
Thank you very much.
Gentlemen, questions?
Do you own any pets?
Yes, yeah, I have a dog named Kobe, Kobi, and she's a yellow lab, but basically she's so light, she looks almost white, but she's 9 years old, and she's my sweet little dog.
What's your favorite part of your job?
Just the diversity, is my favorite part of the job. I get to do very, very different things. You'll see at the end of the trailer, or end of the video, I show a couple snippets of what I do. Like SciPlay, I mentioned, does casinos and virtual slots, stuff like that. It's not actual gambling, it's just mocked up gambling. And then, like I'm working with a client named Glass Bottom Games, working on a game called Skatebird, where it's literally a bird that's riding a skateboard, and you can do all these little tricks and half pipes and stuff like that, and grinds. And yes, there's a bird that's in there that is named Antonio, and it's a hawk. So you get the reference. So
Y'all get the reference, children?
Yeah.
Antonio Hawk?
Yeah.
Somebody answer that.
Tony Hawk.
So, but yeah, I just love the fact that I get to do very different things, and the types of music I write are very different: orchestral and electronic, jazz, rock, ambient, new age type stuff. The sound design obviously very different each time. It's really fun. Now, Alejandro talked about having really good ears, and that's something I want to get back to. Do y'all remember those stereographic or stereogram pictures where it's just that pattern, and it looks like it's nothing but just static colors and noises, or static patterns and colors? But if you let your eyes kind of go out of focus a little bit, all of a sudden you see like a boat or something, it just pops out and becomes 3D. And I use that analogy to say that's what I'm trying to do with my ears. If y'all think about, let's pretend that you were arranging a piece for band, and you put all the instruments and they're really low registers. Tuba's playing low, timpanis are tuned down low, everyone's just playing honking low. It's going to sound really muddy, right? We have the same problems when we're doing sound design. If we put all of our sounds and they're all really heavy on the low end, it's just going to be muffled. And so we have to think about the whole spectrum, and then we have to think about how everything relates. I showed you in the automation, those yellow lines going up and down. One of the key things when you're working on trailers is if there's dialogue, dialogue is king. You move everything else around so the dialogue comes through. Because if they can't understand what the character is saying, they're missing the story, and it's really a bad situation. So, so yeah, that's what I love about my job, is just there's so many different elements to it, and there's a lot of parallels to being a musician and having an idea of arrangement and pacing, crescendo and decrescendo. All that correlates exactly to what I do with trying to tell a good story through a video game or a trailer, that type of stuff. So yeah, I just love all the different things I get to do.
Okay, so when you're working on something like this trailer, does Goku come in and tell you what he's expecting or wanting from the trailer, sound design wise, or do you go in, listen, and then see what you have and go from there?
It's the second, so what they do is they have video editors that get a bunch, we're talking gigs upon gigs of video, right, from all the show. And their job is to take it and to take all the snippets and make it into a 30-second or a 60-second, sometimes a 15-second little sequence. It tells a little micro story. And so they're capturing the visuals and the audio from the show. That's why I had some of the sound effects from the show in that trailer.
Right.
And then what I do is I go through and I try and just enhance it. So one thing I will try is either talking with, you mentioned, Goku. I very rarely talk directly with the voice actors about what they want. Instead, we have brand managers, or we have people who are, or of course, like right now, I'm not an employee of that company. I'm just freelancing for that company. So I have a key contact who will say, hey, we need this type of trailer. Now, if I'm ever off brand, meaning if I make a sound or make something that's not aligning with the idea, the identity of the brand, they will have me do a revision. So there is some of the checks and balances there. But what's nice is a lot of that stuff is, it's really, I've done about 15 of those trailers now, and they're really close. All they need me to do is just to add the extra layers to make it that much bigger. So I don't have to do a lot of correspondence with the crew. I just have to make it be mixed well and be audible and have the important things come out when they need to. Non-important secondary things come down when they need to. So,
okay, a lot of detail work.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Sure thing. Any other questions?
What's the wackiest experience you had, like, in work?
Okay, so do you mean wackiest as in related to this job?
Yeah.
Okay. I've got a perfect example for you. I'm kind of embarrassed to say it, but I had a very small project one time where, I kid you not, the person had written out a melody. They had the melody all good to go, but then they wanted me to use a recording. Thank goodness it was only audio of a fart sound. And I'm assuming they made the fart sound themselves. And so I took that fart sound and made a sample out of it and put it into where I could play a song, and it would change the pitch of the, of the fart. And that was the wackiest. It was like a one afternoon little project for someone. I think they were doing it for some friends as a joke. I got paid for it, but that's the wackiest thing I've ever done.
How much do you get paid to make a fart?
That was a really small job that I do on the side, and I think I got like $100 for it. But I was like, first off, I just laughed when I saw the email, and I was like, well, sure, I'll do that. I've never done that before. Let's try it.
See, kids, you can be gross and make money. All right, let's go on to the video again.
Cool.
Hey guys and gals. Alright, so this is the music part. And making music in Logic is really, really fun and very, very powerful. And it uses something called MIDI. It's Musical Instrument Digital Interface. All that means is I can go through the piano right here, I can play whatever I want. In fact, back, let's just record something and I can show you what I can do with it. Okay, there's a little song I just played, a little snippet. I can look at that, and by the way, there's a little bit of delay. And let's say I'm not happy with the timing of some of this. I want to make this a little bit more on the beat. I just move it around. Let's say I want that really early, like there. Very different. Let's say I want that to be a totally different sound. Not quite what I want. Let's say the whole piece was great, I liked it, but I didn't like that I played it in that key. I can just change the key around. Or let's say I wanted to slow down the tempo. Oops, sorry. Let me do it this way. Tempo, there you are. And let's say I wanted to slow down this tempo a little bit more. Or I'm like, oh my god, that's way too slow. I can speed it up. Okay, it's very, very powerful. It's much harder, excuse me, to do that with audio than it is to MIDI. And the great thing is a lot of MIDI instruments these days sound pretty stinking real. Now, I'm just going to show you this piece just a little bit. And I can actually improvise and play over this. I did the drums, I did the bass, I did the pad, I did the keyboard.
You're muted.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, now I can. Yeah.
Okay. So you guys played the bass? I mean, you played the bass and you played the drums, or you found the MIDI for that?
No, I played everything in. So the drums, I had a pre-existing pattern that I went and edited and changed some things. And the drums too is me just playing various hits, toms, or whatever, like little ride cymbal splash here and there on top of the drums. So I went in, edited the drums, changed it, add more drums to it. I played the bass on my keyboard via MIDI. I played the pad you see in the very bottom, Emerald pad, and then the Wurlitzer Classic, that electric keyboard, track 5. I played that all in too. So that's one of the things that's nice about it is, you know, if you're a good keyboardist or if you can learn keyboard, they even have MIDI guitars now. Or let me show you this real fast, so you don't knock too many things over. This is called an EWI, electronic wind instrument.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, it's a little tricky to play as a saxophonist because unlike clarinet or flute, these are just metal sensors. So if your finger barely touches, that's considered a press. So it's not like saxophone where you can rest our fingers down and then push down when you want to. So you have to be extremely precise about it. But I've used this for things as well. So, but yeah, all that's created via MIDI, which is how I can change the tempo, change the key, move things around, all after the fact. Whereas audio, you can do some of that, but the more that you change it, you're going to have these pops and clicks that we call artifacts. If you've ever messed around with pitching your voice and you can stretch it way out or you can pitch it way high or way low from where you normally talk, it's going to sound a little weird. And that's all those little artifacts in because the computer can only do certain amounts of changes without it having some kind of impact, negative impact on that sound quality.
Awesome. Cool. I'll press play, but I heard that you said that earlier and I was interested to know more about that. So
yeah, for sure.
All right.
go. So that's a really quick overview. I'm not going to play too much because there's a lot of latency when I'm recording audio and video and also recording audio into Logic Pro. There's just some latency, so when I'm pushing the keys down, it's not quite when I'm hearing it in the music. It's kind of hard to do all at the same time. That gives you an idea. One more thing I'll show you real fast is you can actually see the notation view. Whoops, not that one. Wrong one. That one. So this shows, it's not the best program for notation, and some of it looks kind of messy, but you can see what's happening. I rarely use this. I will instead just play, and I will do a different system called Piano Roll, where I can see everything here, and you can move things around. And kind of go crazy. So you get the idea. All right. So that's music in Logic Pro X. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to show you a couple of snippets of some things I've done from some trailers, some game footage, as well as some footage of me playing my saxophone and piano, to give you an idea of who I am as a musician as well. I've really enjoyed.
You did.
Let's go ahead and end this. I'm sorry. Let's go ahead and ask some more questions, and then we'll end this with the ending of the video. So, Sean, Angel.
What do you listen for in music?
I listen for something that is going to capture my attention. When I listen to other people's music, I have a lot of people write me, college students, high school students, people that have graduated that are wanting to get into this industry. And they'll give me their demo reel, and I'll listen, and I'll do what's called dropping the needle, where like if I have the audio file, just put it here, put it here, put it here. Because a lot of times my time is kind of squashed, kind of limited. And so I'm looking for, is there a really cool rhythm here? Is there a really cool texture here? Or is the melody really neat? Could be all three. And that's why I try and find and just say, oh, what's something that makes me stop and go, oh, where are they going with this? You know, part of the awesome thing about where we live and what we're doing now is technology is so powerful and accessible that anyone and everyone can do this at fairly low cost. But that's also the negative is everyone can do it, and a lot of things can sound very, very similar. And I'm not saying my music's super unique. I'm saying that it's hard to stand out. So yeah, I look for stuff that just makes me go, I mean, you think about any video game you've played or any film or show you've watched where you're like, you see the trailer. How many times have you seen the same, he was a lone boy, an outcast who becomes the hero and saves the day and gets the girl? We've seen that story 10,000 times. And yet, you know, you do a little twist on it and the way you produce it and tell the story, it can make people want to see that story again. And so that's the same thing with music is I'm not expecting 100% original because there's been so many hundreds of years of music before us. But I do want to see a little twist, a little like, oh, that's interesting. That's what I look for in music. Good question.
What is on your top 5 playlist?
Oh man, it's hard. Top 5. So I'm just gonna say people instead of like albums or whatever because it's easy to get down into just a wormhole. But I love Radiohead. Talking about textures and interesting rhythms, Radiohead does some really interesting things, really great rhythms. So I love Radiohead. I also I'm a David Lynch fan. Judge me or whatever, but I like the David Lynch stuff. So Twin Peaks has a really cool soundtrack, and Angelo Badalamenti is the composer for that. Does some really interesting. Some of it's pretty out there and weird, but I like that stuff. John Williams is a huge inspiration for me as far as just arrangement and the orchestral compositions that he puts out there. I just love that stuff. Ian Jones, Star Wars, Saving Private Ryan, just some killer music. Let's see, I named 3, top 5. I love the music of Final Fantasy, the older music. So Utamatsu, I love his stuff from Final Fantasy 1, Final Fantasy 7, the remake's coming out very soon. I love stuff like that. It's number 4. And probably number 5 is, let's see, I really like I really like Miles Davis, especially, and Alejandro will know this because of our band director, or Mr. Stanridge in jazz band. But the Miles Davis and Gil Evans collaborations, both of the cool stuff that he's done like that, just really neat arrangements and great melodies. So, yeah, those would be my top 5.
So
Your music inspiration.
Kind of that kind of aligns, you know. John Williams, Miles Davis. I love Duke Ellington. I love just some of the really interesting stuff. Radiohead. Mr. Bungle is a very weird but interesting band. I don't like all the stuff they do, but yeah, a lot of that stuff. Angelino Badalamenti.
So what are some of your, I was going to ask a composer question, but you seem to have answered that one pretty well. So standing right now, what are some of your favorite film soundtracks / video game soundtracks that you enjoy listening to?
Okay, yeah, great question. So, and not in any particular order, the music of Silent Hill 2 is pretty amazing. Very, very, very good stuff. Let's see, I got to be, I'm not like buddies with Austin Wintory, but I've met him multiple times. He knows me, I know him. Fantastic composer. He worked on Journey, the PS3, back in 2013 or 2012. He did that soundtrack, amazing experience. I loved that. As far as films go, Serenity. So Firefly, if you guys are sci-fi fans, I love the show, but the music for the film was really, really good. I also really like Danny Elfman. So if you think about music for Darkened Theater, Volume 1, has a whole collage of like Pee-wee's Big Adventure or Beetlejuice, Tales from the Crypt. Danny Elfman just has a really great sound. And yeah, he gets typecast as the la, 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 you know, the boys choir type sound. He does get typecast as that. But if you go and you watch some of his action stuff, for example, I mean, Batman was great, the Michael Keaton one. If you look at also what he did with the first Spider-Man, you know, with Tobey Maguire?
Legend.
Yeah, you know, and you listen to that soundtrack, you're like, dude, this is great. And I would not have pinged that as Danny Elfman. So he does have some variety and range as a composer. Yeah, those are some of the things. I'm a huge Thomas Newman fan. So like Shawshank Redemption, Finding Dory, those are so strong. Or American Beauty. American Beauty is a wonderful soundtrack. I'll jog to that and just listen to it. It's beautiful. It's haunting. So yeah, those are some of the ones I recommend.
All
Thank
right.
you.
I actually really like that question, Mr. Trevino. We got time for one more question, and then we'll kind of end with the video, and I'll say something at the end, and that'll be it. So,
Awesome.
Sean?
What's your favorite joke?
Favorite joke? Crap. Oh, you know what? I saw this question and I didn't even prep. Okay, here we go. I'm a dad of 2, so here comes a dad joke right at y'all. Okay, why can't you hear a pterodactyl go to the bathroom?
Why?
Because the P is silent.
Everybody clap. There you go.
Thank you. I'll be here all week.
All right. Let's watch Let's watch the end of the video, and then I'll say a couple of things, and that'll be it.
Awesome.
All right.
I'm looking forward to your questions, and please let me know if there's anything else you want to know about me and what I do. Thanks. Bye.
that was Antonio Hall. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, let me get back to the thing. Well, Nathan, I so much appreciate you being here. I am very thankful. You opened up a new part of music for me too. Even though I knew this was a job, and I've never seen it in the works, and it makes me want to go and buy some of these things and start playing around with them myself. So I very, very much appreciate you being here, Angel and Sean. Thank you for being here and prepping and being ready to ask. And Mr. Trevino, you asked some fantastic questions. Let's all give a round of applause for Mr. Madsen. Next week, if you want to come back next week for our series, Careers in Music, we will be interviewing Ed Jones, from the principal tuba player from Fort Worth Youth Symphony and tuba professor at UTA. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. Nathan, once again, thank you so much. This was super awesome, and goodbye.
Thank you so much, guys. Great questions.